Good morning, everyone. This is the first lecture of the course on innovations in chemical technologies, CET 1515. I see that we have got about 14 students from chemical engineering and 10 students from BTech, okay, covering various branches. So that's nice. So there's um nice balance. And now this is a course that has been offered several times in the past. Okay, and again this year is being offered. It's an elective. Okay, and just so that you get some idea about what the course is all about, I'd actually forwarded this to you all, to Rajesh, and I'm sure he shared it with all of you. But nonetheless, what I'll do is I'll still go through what is really the structure of the course. Okay, and just so that you get an idea about exactly what are we going to do, you know, in this course. Okay. Now, I don't think I have to tell you that innovations play a very crucial role. Okay. And they actually help you to move up the learning curve in terms of the attractiveness of a technology. Many of you in your previous courses, you would have seen that. I mean, you have one process, somebody else invents something else, you have another process. Okay, same thing can happen with a product. You have a good product, it becomes a better product, it becomes a still better product. Okay, and that's how things move up the learning curve. Okay. Now, one thing is that there are, of course, some of these inventions which are really game changing, and those are things that happen once in maybe 100 years, maybe 200 years, 300 years. Okay, like the Haber process would be one of those. I mean, it's one of the all-time greats, and it, I think, certainly ranks among the top 10 of any invention made in across any field. Okay? I mean, it's that important, and it's. I mean, you can imagine the number of people who would have perished. Okay, had there been an insufficiency of nitrogenous fertilizer, right? So it's that important, and how many people have benefited? Billions of people. Uh, Same, I mean, when you look at when people were dying of heart disease, people really didn't know what to do. And there were, of course, some things which had been invented which were actually not bad, but it was really the invention of the beta blockers, which we'll discuss in one of the lectures, that actually revolutionized medicine and the treatment of high BP and things like that. Okay, and so that was a phenomenal invention, and won the Nobel Prize, of course, along with Haber and others. Whoever I'm talking about, most of these people would have received the Nobel Prize. And then, of course, somebody else and went and made something even better in the last 20 years or so. And so it moved. It's not as if that invention was not followed up by something else. So you will again see how things have moved along. Okay. Look at nuclear fission. I don't think there are too many. It really is in that same category as the Haber process, where I mean we can destroy the entire world with this invention that was made. Okay? Or it can be the greatest boon for mankind if we can really provide all the energy from nuclear energy as compared to fossil fuels. That's the difference, okay, between the two extremities, but both emanating from the same invention. So, that's the how important transistor effect. I mean, you think about it. Today, the entire world revolves around microprocessors, transistors, and what anything. I think probably this is one technology which has affected people more than anything else in recent years. They don't see the Haber process or beta blockers and things, but most of these people will, of course, know how well their mobile or laptop is working, and they also know that there is something at the heart of it which is so important. Okay? Take in vitro fertilization. I mean, again, uh, who who would have imagined, say, 30, 40, 50 years ago, that you can conceive children outside of the natural process? You look at the number of people today, who have difficulty conceiving, and they have benefited from this technology, and it's such a natural instinct of for people to have, the instinct to have their own baby, and for whatever reason they're not able to. Okay, and it's not as if it's successful everywhere, but certainly I think an immense number of people have benefited. Take again asymmetric synthesis. I mean, till about what, uh, 60s. Okay? So we are talking about 55, 60 years ago, that it was always believed that chiral molecules are the domain of nature. Nature gives you chiral molecules, and yet people knew that chiral molecules are important for in many drugs and pesticides and things like that. Okay? And that somebody can actually make chiral molecules in the laboratory was something really astonishing, you know. And by the way, this 2021 Nobel Prize was given for organo catalysis, okay, and where the focus was really on asymmetric synthesis. And I will share with you the link. Please go and read the or listen to the Nobel lecture of one of these people. I can actually listen to both, but at least you can start with one, and you will get an idea of that a Nobel Prize was given maybe about a decade back, or slightly more than that, for asymmetric synthesis, and again in 2021 to have been given another Nobel Prize for something very obviously very game changing. Okay, olefin metathesis, how important it is. Okay, and the person, one of the people who was part of this, he actually passed away last month. Okay, Robert Grubbs, and he was in Caltech, and in fact, ICT actually awarded him a degree, honorary degree, and so very very important, path breaking invention, and we'll go through it, and many times you'll find that there are two or three people who are sharing these. Okay, and it's not as if they all invented things at the same time. There could be someone who is almost like a father figure, who actually first conceived the idea, and then the others, may have done a huge amount of work around it and making the whole process actually viable and practical. So, that's the kind of thing that is so important. Okay, and again, take lithium ion battery, which got the Nobel Prize in 2019. I mean, today it's hard to imagine our mobile and laptop and all without a lithium ion battery, you know. And what an evolution of technology in terms of battery, okay? That we have this kind of astonishing thing, okay. And also, let me tell you that it may disappear in 10 years time, because there are other things which will come along. But certain methodologies of thinking, okay, that will always prevail. Okay? That will always remain from all these great work. And but what happens is that if you actually read it from a textbook, okay, these kinds of things, it's been passed on from one person to another. You know, somebody actually wrote a book, another person would have written another book, you know, and it goes on, but it's all secondary information. Okay? You are not really getting a feel for exactly what was in the mind of these people who were the Nobel laureates. Okay? There's a better chance that you might get it if you read the original Nobel lectures or listen to their Nobel lecture. Okay, like the link I'll show you, you can listen to it. Okay, most of them exhibit a lot of humility, okay, and they will tell you because they've already got the prize, you know, so they will tell you things as it happened to them, okay, and what was important. Certainly, one should be very respectful of Nobel laureates, and they're no doubt about it, extremely great people. Okay, but I think it's also important to acknowledge other people's contribution, because this is another thing, you know. I mean, while you're, let's say, from your undergraduate now, you'll be going to do maybe a graduate study, and some of you will take up a job. Okay? You know, being great and all these things is extremely important. I can understand everybody wants to be known as somebody great or famous, or having made a big contribution, no question about it. But I think integrity is as important. Okay? And one of the things that again I'll keep emphasizing, okay, over and over again, is do not ride roughshod over others, okay, in trying to project yourself. You know. I think that acknowledge exactly what were the most important sources of your ideas, you know, and believe me, even after that, people will say, "Hey, you did a great job." Okay? But do not try to sweep it under the rug. Um, there is another reason for wanting to share with you the Nobel lectures as they were delivered. Well, what happens is that we've all learned that necessity is the mother of invention, okay? And there are certain prevailing situations at a particular point in time, okay? And those could have actually sparked these ideas. There was a need. Is it that they worked in a complete vacuum, or was there a need for what they did? I'm not saying in all cases there was a need, okay? But in many cases there was, and so that motivation, I think you will be able to see, and there are people who can work on a problem which is maybe relevant 50 years from now. Can you do that? Are you able to see that far ahead, okay, of what may be required 50 years from now, and you are working for it? And so, that's also very important, the prevailing circumstances, and how exactly is the idea born. Okay? I mean, people, it's become very fashionable to talk about a eureka moment, but what exactly, what happened in your mind, what sparked that thing? And it's important, and not only what sparked it, and then what did you do about it. Let me tell you, I mean, this is my just honest feeling. I have no way of proving or disproving it. I have seen a enormous number of people, who actually come up with brilliant ideas, and but it just stays at the level of ideas. It comes and they thought about it, maybe discussed it with one or two people, sometimes not even discussed it, it's all in their mind. Okay? uh, they didn't take it forward. uh, Maybe because they didn't have the interest to take it forward, they didn't have the wherewithal to take it forward. There could be many, many things. Or a guy who is good at generating an idea is not necessarily the person who is good at solving the problem. Okay. And the person who is good at solving a problem is not necessarily good in generating an idea. So, that kind of thing where these people can create an idea, have the tenacity to take it forward, and those are the kinds of attributes, which are so vitally important for actually ultimately having some tangible success. And what approach did they take to solve the problem? Okay. Of course, many of these things will be very chemistry oriented, but I do intend to also share with you a few that are very engineering related. Okay, and in fact, what I want is that in your respective areas, you should just see that what were some of these. Can you think of some great things which have happened in the last 20 years or 30 years in your area? Okay, maybe, and if you could, I would love to have one session where all of you make presentations on that. Okay, it could be in oil, in the area of oil. It could be in the area of textile. It could be in the area of chemical engineering. Okay, or in a fantastic surfactant or surface phenomena. Okay, or in polymer. What happened? Something very, very important that may have happened, or a new dye, or a new process to make a dye. Not things which have happened only 100 years ago. Okay? Some things which happened more recently than that. There are also different people have different personality traits. They're not the same, and your personality does have something to do, with the way you approach things. I mean, there are, for example, some people who are very good natural team leaders who are excellent at networking with others, and there are others who like to quietly work by themselves. They're not actually very comfortable interacting with so many people and doing team projects and things like that. So different people have different personalities, and so that's also important, uh, how you approach a problem. Okay, and as I said, I mean, conducive factors. Were there some conducive factors? Like, for example, how is it possible that a place like Bell Labs in the US, which has done such phenomenal work from inventing the transistor, to the solar cell, to some of the work on cosmic radiation, to name it. I mean, they've got, in fact, even the first mobile was actually invented by people in Bell Labs and Motorola. And so, how is it possible that some of these labs, have such a proliferation of ideas and such prolific people? There must be something conducive about the environment, and which is one of the reasons why sometimes you all let's say want to go and study in a in some place, and you want to go there because probably it's such a vibrant place, and ICT, for example, could be a very vibrant place in India, or the IITs, or places like that, or go abroad. There are so many of these places where it's very vibrant, and there's a lot of interdisciplinary research. You can talk to people and get ideas, and so it's extremely important, okay, that we understand all of this. Now, what happens is that it's not about just Nobel Prizes, huh? Please don't get me wrong. And there are, I'm absolutely certain there are many great people who did not get the Nobel Prize, but I would actually rate them as even greater. Okay, and then you have got game-changing innovations which did not receive the Nobel Prize, and they could have sparked a technological revolution. Okay. Like, sadly, the person who invented the photovoltaic cell, Russel Ohl, did not get a Nobel Prize. He's also the creator of the PN junction. Yeah. And or the Indian who actually, along with his professor, conceived the idea of optical fiber, and never got anything for it. And it was in the 50s that he did this work, in England, okay, and uh, didn't really get a Nobel Prize, okay. In fact, it's interesting. This year he passed away 2 years back, 2 or 3 years back, and this year I've been teaching this for about 7 years, and nobody had heard of him. And his name is Kapani, Narendra Kapani, and only this year he was given posthumously a Padma Vibhushan. I mean, uh, so someone obviously recognized that he did something very important.
Or take something like 3D printing, emerging as a great potential technology. Okay. Again, tremendously great conception of an idea, not yet really come to the level of a Nobel Prize or anything, but they show you the very original way of thinking about a problem.
And how do these inventions happen? And, there's a good chance that you will be able to follow the course of the inventions if you read the patents, okay, or if we discuss directly from the original patents which were filed, because that's where it was done. Whether it's a great thing or not, it's for you to judge. And many times, if you read the patent and things happened 30, 40, 50 years ago, it doesn't look so great when you read the patent, okay. I mean, but over a course of many years, this became very important. All the time, whether it is these kinds of patentable innovations or Nobel Prize winning work, I want you all, each one of you, to ask yourself, could I have done it? Okay. Because why are we doing this course? I really want you all to be like them. And another is because from whatever experience I've gathered, I believe that each one of you is capable of doing it, and you all have that. You all are many of you are extremely bright students. You've done well throughout. I don't think you're any different or any less intellectual than these people. Okay, so that's the idea. You know that maybe you will also do something great one day, like them. Okay? And so that's what I'll discuss now. Let's also when I let's say in 2015. Okay, when I gave this title, Innovations in Chemical Technology. And I just said innovations in chemical technology. Okay. Um, but, you know, actually, there is, it's a bit vague, okay? This term innovations. Um, like, for example, the patent office anywhere in the world does not recognize any class of inventions called innovations. There's no such thing. They only award patents for inventions. Okay, and an invention is something which must have novelty. Okay? It must have non-obviousness. It should not be obvious. This is, of course, always a point which is contested by many. And what is meant by non-obvious? What is obvious to somebody may not be obvious to me. So, and also whether it has potential utility. Okay, these are the three criteria on which patents are given, and they are all referred to as inventions. There's no separate class of uh, patents on innovations. There's nothing like that. They're all inventions. Okay. So why, for example, this term innovations became so popular, and why I don't know. Maybe I should have just called it inventions in chemical technology. I mean, it would have been better. And just yesterday, again, I went and I said, let me just see, what have people tried to make a distinction between invention and innovation. Okay. I mean, this is only one person's point of view. Okay. I mean, it can vary from person to person. Okay. And it says, I've also given the website. You can just have a look. Invention refers to the creation of a brand new product or device. Conversely, innovation is an act of making changes to the existing product. I've actually put out the process, it was not there. Okay, they just put existing product by introducing new ways or ideas. Okay? While invention is all about creating or designing something, innovation is the process of turning a creative idea into reality. Okay? That's what they are saying. Now, there is, because you see, all the people who talk about innovations are typically uh, guys, who have got something to do with business and marketing uh, and and those kinds of things, companies. Okay, so maybe they want to see it as a reality, which is a saleable product. Okay, and so that's the distinction that they're drawing. Now, if this invention is to be strictly followed. Okay? Invention refers to the creation of a brand new product or device. I don't think there would be too many patents. There are thousands and thousands of patents. So and which are I will say relatively more incremental compared to the brand new product or device. So obviously, it's not in practice. Inventions have not really remained, so exclusive. There are differentiations, in the products which help you to get a patent. Okay, and they are also called inventions. Okay? So this would be an extremely idealistic definition, which is not followed in practice. In practice, that's certainly not the case, because if it were the case, there simply could not have been that many patents. There would be very, very few. Okay. And in a way, I ask myself, maybe it should have been that way. Maybe that's what it should have been. Only those great things, brand new product or device, should be the ones which should have been given a patent, and nothing else. You know, who knows? Maybe that's the right way of looking at it. Okay. So again, bear this in mind. Okay. What Because of these definitions, what I felt, I've never seen anybody drawing these kinds of things. Okay, but I felt that innovations should yield uh, asymmetric gains. Okay? Asymmetric gains means gains which are disproportionate to the input. Okay, so you do something very small and it makes a huge difference in either the processing time or the quality of the product or something. Okay, and so there is a tremendous asymmetry. Small input, large output. Any industry would want that, right? Anyone would want that. Now, one thing is there, that when we say small input, large output, typically, we are talking about the material aspects, okay, of that input. Now, you could have thought about the problem for months together, with tremendous concentration. Okay? And so really the core input is your brain, because it is that which churned out this innovation, and that has not been quantified. And so many times, people will only talk about the material aspects of what are the inputs. Nobody really talked about those inputs. The During the conception of an idea, that input is by far maybe a bigger input. Okay? So, of course, just remember that when I'm talking about input, I'm only talking about the material input. Okay, I'm not talking about the ideas input. In this particular case. Okay? But this is what certainly would be a great innovation. And to me, it seems that rather than just leaving it very qualitative and vague, it's easily quantifiable. What is your material input? Okay, into your innovation. Okay, and what is the area of the pie? The size of the pie which you're getting as an output. Just take the ratio, and maybe what we should say is, the higher is the ratio, the greater is the innovation. Why not? Because after all, well, that's what would be a fair assessment. In other words, you'll have certain amount of objectivity in defining, okay, the importance of an innovation. That would be the importance, okay, of an innovation. Like, if say I went and did something, and I fixed ammonia, and if let's say 8 billion people in the world, okay, are benefiting, can you imagine the output to input ratio? Okay, and on the other hand, uh, you know I find a lot of times people are talking about very, very high tech stuff. Okay, and you go and ask, how many people will this affect? Okay? Maybe some rich people who can afford to buy it. How many people would get affected by this? So you might say it's a very clever idea. Of course, it is a clever idea, but in terms of the output, it may not be so great. So I think that it's also important that look at those potentially large opportunities. Because if you can make a difference, even a 1% difference in that kind of a large opportunity, it's a huge difference. Right? So, just I mean, maybe some food for thought. Okay. Because I've seen people are all the time talking about very, very fancy inventions, very fancy, and I ask myself, who gains from this? And I just struggle to see who are those people who will gain. It's more or less their same class of people who will gain. Okay, now let me therefore take you to what I would call the third part. You see, I mean, you don't necessarily have this either Nobel Prizes or those earth-shattering patents. Okay, what you have is many times much lesser inventions and inventions which could even have been made by people who are illiterate. They need not actually have even gone to school. And I've seen, in fact, I've seen people who are extremely innovative, and they in fact one such person was my driver when I was in Bhavnagar at CSMCI Bhavnagar. And I remember, once we had gone with our dog. The dog was a puppy then, and we had gone to some place to visit my wife, my son, myself, and our little puppy. Okay, and we forgot to take the bartan, in which the we put water and the uh, dog drinks. Okay? And we had a bottle of water, but we didn't have that. And I remember I tried pouring the water from the bottle, and the dog just could not drink. How will the dog drink? More time went in cursing that we did something so stupid, as to forget the button from which the dog could drink. And Chauhan Bhai, such a smart guy, you know what he did? He just cupped his hand and he told me, "Saab, हमारा हाथ में ये पानी दे दो." And then I just poured some water in his hand. It was just like a cup. And then he put it down, and the dog beautifully drank the water. And who thought of it? I mean, I wasn't so not even an iota of Chauhan Bhai's intelligence at that time. It was Chauhan Bhai, the driver, who thought of it. Yeah. And you might say, come on, yeah, it's such an obvious thing. Everything looks obvious after it's done. I see number of times, I mean, during my lectures or anywhere, and you go and ask questions, people will struggle to answer. If you ask me a question and I'm not prepared for, I can bet I won't be able to answer. And but there are some people who are highly innovative, and you can think on their feet and at the right time when it's required. Not that we came back from the visit and went home, and then one of us said that, "Hey, arey, yaar, we could have done this." It's no use because the opportunity is gone. So, but what I'm trying to say is that also be respectful of people who have not necessarily even been formally educated. Of course, John Bai he was certainly a high school pass, and in fact, I remember the orthopedic surgeon. He's the global head of orthopedic surgery in Apollo. And he had told me, "Sir, you want to know? John Bhai and I went to school together, and John was better than me. I mean, he would tell me for whatever reason he just didn't study further. Okay? And so, be respectful of these people. And look at this. I always, I may have even shown it to you all. I don't know. To me, it's always looks so smart, that when there are droughts and there's no water to drink, and we are talking about the need for conservation, what could be better than putting this kid in the cot, putting this tumbler below, okay, and letting his bath water collect over there. Okay? I mean, there are so many applications where I need water, and I am not looking for very pure water and even a slightly soapy water. Or after all the soap has gone, and the rest of the mugs of water that you are pouring, that you put it, and that would be fine. Okay. So why should I waste the water? And to like this commonsensical idea of cascading a water uh, through several applications before it's finally discharged. It's such a simple thing. And to me it's so smart, what these people did. Okay? uh, just borrowing from that idea, not a new idea, but just borrowing from this idea. I remember when we were doing a project, it is just completed in Latur, okay, and where there was a drought and huge problems. And I thought that, why don't we create a sump, below the place where we take a bath, okay? And when we are bathing, all that water collects in the sump, and you just use a pump and pump it up maybe to the cistern, and you can flush your toilet and all with this. And look, it's such a relevant application, because after all, when you're bathing, what do you have? You've got, it's mainly soap water, no? Some sabun and this that. And if I flush my toilet with that, actually what happens is that my toilet also will get a bit cleaned up, in the process. So it's such an appropriate application. Yeah? And so I would actually call these as really low hanging fruits, and this is another, I find, for whatever reason, people don't want to work uh, on the very easy things, which actually can give you huge mileage. And we're talking about doing very, very hi-fi, sophisticated things. Nothing wrong in trying to do very hi-fi, sophisticated things. Okay, but somebody needs to do this, because there is a huge opportunity in this. And so, I would urge you all, do all your aspirational things and great things that you want to do, high anything that you want to do. Okay, but along with it, why don't you see if you can find one or two simple problems to solve, which frankly, if you apply your mind, you and especially people as gifted as you all, you know you would be able to solve in what, maybe a day. And try to keep that in mind. Like, for example, this, I'm so happy that last year ICT got a patent on this, where it seems to me such an important problem that every time we use our washing machine, we are consuming something like something between 80 and 120 liters of water, between the initial washing cycle and then the rinse cycle, after you give a wash and do that. And what all this detergent and all, where is it ending up? It's just going into the drain. Yeah. Have you any of you have a washing machine where it goes anywhere else? just put it into the drain, right? No? That's what you're doing. It goes through the pipe wherever it ends up. And I kept asking myself, and especially for people who are in surfactants, I kept asking, yeah, what does a detergent have? Detergent has detergent, which is which are mostly some long chain or aromatic compounds with sulfate or sulfonate groups, which act as surfactants. Okay? They exhibit surfactancy. And I said, when you wash clothes, does that detergent get degraded? Um, no, I mean, maybe if it's in a sodium form, okay, it's an exchange, it's an ionic detergent and it's in the sodium form. Maybe if you have got hardness in your water or something which came from your clothes, it may become calcium form, okay, or magnesium form. Okay? But other than that, it's not going to chemically degrade. Okay? That's one. Okay? Secondly, uh, at that time I thought that what happens, at least forget about the detergent part. Can you not at least recover the water from this wash water? Yeah. and and especially from the rinse water, which is relatively quite clean. Okay? And I had some of the most brilliant people working. One of them was Ishani Godbole from maybe about 3-4 years back, and she was extremely bright and very motivated to work. There was another guy who had joined this project, from another place, okay, Abhishek Iyer, and very enthusiastic, and they did a magnificent job, and I mean, we could recover about about 80% of the water could be recycled back into the washing machine. Yeah. And in fact, we could also reduce the detergent consumption by about 10 to 15%, and so I mean, I'm sure it would make a big impact if it were to get popularized. Okay, and but again, uh, one needs to understand what are the not so good things about the invention. If you only focus on all the things that are great about it, okay, you'll miss the point, and you'll never commercialize anything. Okay? Like for example, if I have to recycle this, okay, let's say I use a washing machine every second day at home, okay, and I'm doing a washing, and I want to then keep the water for the next day. Obviously, I need some tanks. I'll need some purification device, okay, because we did some purification. I need a device. Okay, I can I may need some pumps, okay, to pump up the water. Okay, so you then becomes important to understand the totality of a solution. you know. If I only give one part of the solution and feel very happy about it, yeah, good, we'll get a patent, and so what? Did I actually help anybody to make any money? Not at all. And in fact, that's precisely the stage at which this thing is. And you need those kinds of then enthusiastic people, and especially in your case, like there are people who will come and go. You'll do your degree, you'll be gone. Somebody else has to come. Okay. There are many times, other people don't like to work on the ideas of other people. But unless you have a sense of continuity, you won't be able to do things. Okay? And they will just remain. And that's precisely what happens in so many places. They're all good ideas, but all half baked. Half baked or quarter baked. And so, but they're all low hanging fruits. Can you imagine with all the washing machines and the wastewater, how much of an opportunity exists to recycle the water, and if you can recycle the detergent or regenerate the detergent by some means. And of course these companies who sell detergent won't like it because they want to sell. Okay, but if for a larger good of the environment, can you imagine what would be the implication of this? So just keep that in mind again. Okay, now you know low hanging fruits, of course, are there. You can immediately spot them if you are smart enough to actually see the fruit. A lot of people, they cannot see the lower branches. Their eye automatically goes on the top branch and they see the fruit right up there and they want that. You tell them, hey, what's the problem here? Why don't you pluck the apple from below here? It's there. They'll say, no, 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 I want that fruit. And that's what a lot of people are doing. So I would call these as all street smart innovations, because they don't really require a huge amount of intelligence. It just is a question of being able to spot an opportunity, okay, and being able to maybe connect the dots. Okay. That's it. Or maybe in some cases, just moving knowledge across boundaries. Okay. That's all there is. The solutions exist. There's nothing unique about the technical solutions. It's just about connecting the dots, spotting the opportunities. And what I will do is I will take you through maybe 8 to 10 such case studies. Okay, and many of them will be from my own inventions. Okay, and the reason is not because they are great inventions. I want to be absolutely clear about it. People have done much bigger, better things. Okay, but simply because I would be able to probably communicate a bit more easily what was in my mind, what was in the mind of the institute where I was working, what was the country's perspective, what did the country need, and so that we can identify these kinds of street smart thinking and opportunities. Okay. But there are many situations where you need a power of anticipation. Okay? And when I say a power of anticipation, like for example, the people who said that by 1950 there will be no nitrogenous fertilizer that will be available because all the chili saltpeter deposits would be all gone, okay, and people will starve. And when did they say that? In 1880 something. Okay? So that is being able to anticipate a problem or an opportunity well ahead of the requirement. But and usually the people who should think like that, it should be government, it should be national laboratories. They are the ones who should be thinking about these great things that we need to do, which will be relevant 50 years from now. I mean, most of us, I won't be there, but all of you are going to be what? You'll be barely 75, 70, 75 years old, you know, when you are 50 years from now. There's nothing. Maybe by at that time, longevity would have been much better. Maybe all of you will live till 120, who knows? You know? And so you might be in your middle age at 75. And what are the problems which you will face, your children will face? Okay? Can you work on them? Okay? And I if there is one thing that made me feel quite happy, and as I told you, okay, You can of course brag about what Haber did or somebody else did, but there is nothing as nice as you being able to think of something. Okay, and it's just the same as, it is not the same thing as seeing someone paint a masterpiece. Okay, and oh, oh, what a brilliant artist, you know? Or like my wife does, she loves to paint at 12 o'clock at night, till about 2 o'clock in the morning she's painting something, not a masterpiece for sure, but not bad, and she enjoys painting it. It's her thing. She did it. She liked it. She doesn't care, whether other people like it or not. She likes it. Yeah. And there is a joy, there's a pleasure, in doing it because you are doing it. And so likewise, or if somebody is a brilliant dancer and dances, and it's not the same thing as you going into the stage and dancing yourself. You may not dance so well, but you'll feel a tremendous joy that you danced. Okay, so so I always try to see what is relevant to me. Okay, now this is something which made me happy. It's about a minute. Let me give you the context that I was representing the country. Okay, for in some Indo-European programs. Okay, uh, and so I'd gone to the Hague along with some ministers and others and all. And I think I was representing the country on water. Okay? And so I also spoke. I led a team over there and all that. But one very interesting thing was on the sidelines of this conference. It was known as the Horizon 2020 program, and this was in 2013. Okay, so they means what is the world going to look like in 2020? Okay? What will be some of the concerns? Okay, which we need to address. Okay, those were the kinds of things that were being debated. Okay, and so they made each one of us, okay, speak for a minute. No, I think it was those people, but it was done through the media. Hmm. And so, they also asked me to speak for a minute, which I did, and I'll just play it here.
Well, I think my singular concern would be sustainable development, whether we really will be able to sustain the sort of development which we have had over the last many years. And particularly, the biggest concerns would be around water, around energy, around climate change and associated calamities. And fourth, I think, is unknown disease breakout. There could be things which we have not even anticipated will happen, and they may happen in future, and these would be of great concern.
Okay, and it was one of my PhD students, very brilliant guy. Last in 2020, around July or something, after the start of the pandemic, he sent me this link and said, "Sir, you predicted this thing 7 years back," or something. And I firstly could not believe that I said this, and then I remembered, yeah, I did. And but what was amazing was, and I'm talking in 2013 and about an unknown disease breakout in a Horizon 2020 program, and 2020 the pandemic starts in India and all over the world. I mean, it started in 2019 in China, in December. Okay, but for all practical purposes, it's 2020. Okay, so now I I'm not saying, okay, that that this is something a great prediction, because I've not said what kind of a disease or anything, but the fact that I did mention about an unknown disease breakout, okay, uh, and there was an unknown disease breakout. That's precisely what happened. Why did I say it then? I said it probably because, I was concerned about all those other things that I talked about the environment, climate change, etc. And in my mind, I must have said, look, if there are going to be all these changes, can it not perturb the system? Can it not lead to more mutations and this, that, unnatural things might happen? Presumably that is what would have been at the back of my mind when I said this. Okay, but it's just an illustration of being able to anticipate something well in advance. Okay, obviously, if somebody could have been even more specific, and if they had said we are going to have this disease, that of course is a totally different level of being able to anticipate. Obviously, what I said was way too general. But even so, it gave me immense pleasure. And so I just thought, you might actually be able to anticipate problems and opportunities, and maybe today you should go back home and just try to do this exercise. Just try to predict, okay, what are the problems and opportunities that you see the world confronted with maybe 20 years from now, not even 50 years, 20 years from now. Clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now, the other thing which we will learn in this course, okay, is it that people are born inventive? Is it that some of you are just gifted with an ability to invent, and others are not? Or can one learn to be inventive? Because that is really what one would hope. One of the reasons for this course would be that can you become more inventive? And so I'll take you through a structured methodology, okay, which was first proposed by this person, Altshuler. He's a Russian person, okay, and very brilliant person. And so he actually taught a methodology for structured approach to problem solving, and what he calls as inventive problem solving. Okay, so we will go through the TRIZ methodology, and this will be one of the presentations which I will ask you all to make, because there are many principles and features in this whole methodology. Maybe you all can pair up, into, or individually, and tackle some of these principles and features.
Usually, most problems that you encounter are in the form of some kind of contradiction. Okay, by contradiction, it means that yes, you can solve the problem and you can improve something. Okay, but in the process of trying to improve that, something else becomes worse. So the creativity is really about trying to see if you can overcome that contradiction. Can you think of any contradiction that you have come up with in a technology or in anything,
So, like, we can think of one thing, like what I can think is when we try to say design heat exchangers.
Yeah.
Say when we try to improve the heat transfer coefficient, we
Yes.
try to create more turbulence, we try to use higher superficial velocities, but in that process the pressure drop becomes very high.
Wonderful.
So,
what I would like you to do is from your own perspectives, try to list out as many such contradictions that you can think of.
When you're inventing, and especially if your inventions are of the type, I told you, street smart inventions, that they're so easy to do. Once you have got the idea, there's nothing. It's not rocket science. Okay? Very, very easy to do. Okay? Now, if you do not protect it in some way, okay, then what can happen is, how difficult is it for knowledge to just go from place A to place B? The diffusion of ideas is very rapid diffusion. Okay? And tomorrow somebody else does it, okay? And you say, hey, this is my idea. What are you doing with it? You say, कहाँ लिखा है आपका idea? You know, and so there is a need to patent such ideas. Okay? Especially if you see a fear that it might leak out, okay, and you may lose credit, okay, for that. Okay? And that's one of the reasons for taking patents. Or if you are doing things like Apple or Microsoft and all, they take a large number of patents because they don't want anyone to infiltrate their technologies. Okay, so they do it, but the downside of patenting, okay, is that in the process of patenting also you give away a lot of ideas. Okay? And it's not always so easy to monitor who is copying your invention and who is not. Okay? And frankly, I mean, I have no idea, who is making use of things which we patented. I'm 100% sure there are many, many people who are copying it all over. Okay? What are we going to do about it? You can't go and file a case against each one of them. It's not possible. Okay? But if it is something potentially big, you might want to file a case, and others do that if they feel that, let's say you have been practicing something which actually does not is their stuff, and they catch you doing that, they might take you to court. Okay, so there are some very important patent infringement cases. And from our own patents, and our own work, we've got into these kinds of disputes, and with big companies, okay, like Unilever, and so I'll take you through one or two of these things where either we were sued, okay, by a big company, okay, saying that we have infringed on their work, okay, or where we took a company to court saying that they are copying our stuff. You have to take a careful decision of what do you really want to patent, okay, and what do you really want to publish, okay, and who decides that, and what is the basis. Okay? Now, there are certain reference material, and throughout my lecture, I'll keep sending you all these Nobel lectures and patents and things like that. Okay, and there's also a book, which I will send you. It's called The Pastures Quadrant, and I'll discuss that in a while. Okay, and there's a very famous book by this person, Peter Drucker. It's called Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Okay, and where he actually tries to say what really is meant by entrepreneurship. He says most of the other guys who do things, they're just setting up another business. To call them entrepreneurs would be completely wrong. He associates entrepreneurship with innovation, and so I'll pass on this soft copy of this book to you. Okay, I'll send you material related to TRIZ, and as I go along, many other relevant material I will send to you. So if I have to look at the course outcome, which I have also, I think, sent you, okay, but I think it's important, and you should judge, okay, whether these are being fulfilled or not in the course of the course. I mean, that this is the outcome, which I would like to see you all being able to grasp. One is that uh, it's also important that we different people have different motivations. Okay, all of you will have different motivations. Okay, and it's also very important. We use these terms a lot, but it's important that we really have a better understanding of what is meant by basic research, applied research, discovery, invention, innovation, and so I'll just try and take you through a few of these, okay, and you can add to the list, okay, and maybe you'll find my list not particularly useful. No problem. I mean, you can change it the way you want, okay, and now, as I said, I mean, there are certain drivers of innovation. Something drives it. It's not really always in a vacuum. So we'll try and understand the different circumstances that can spark an innovation. And obviously, you should try and put yourself in those places where you will be in those situations. Okay? So that's one. The third is that we will analyze the Nobel lectures and the patents, okay? And why? Because I want you to understand the entire process. Obviously, when they're getting the Nobel Prize means they've been successful. So they can describe to you the entire process they followed in being successful. It's not just an idea, okay, or it's not just about execution. It is really about ideas to execution. Okay, so and we will do that both for big and small inventions or innovations. Okay, the fourth is the TRIZ methodology is, as I said, which teaches a structured way of inventing, and at the heart of it, what it is trying to say is that most situations present some kind of a contradiction. Something improves, but something else gets worse. Okay? And that's the typical contradiction which is confronted. Like, for example, when we talked about exothermic reactions, like let's say making sulfuric acid, starting from sulfur, and these are all exothermic reactions. And we know that in an exothermic reaction, heat is evolved. Okay, and if the heat is evolved, the temperature will increase. Okay, and that will actually facilitate the rate of the reaction, provided you are not in a region where your reaction gets uncontrolled. But if it's within control, then exothermic reactions are good in that sense that it will help to promote the rate of the reaction. But we also know that for an exothermic reaction, if you raise the temperature, then the equilibrium will shift to the left. Okay? And so that's a classic example of a contradiction. And we have seen when we studied the sulfuric acid process how the contradiction was managed, how it was possible to get both a very good rate of reaction with very high conversion. And so it's an example of that. Okay, and he, of course, Altshuler is a mechanical engineer. So many of his problems, etc., that he talks about are typically more mechanical engineering types of problems. but I will tell you about a few which are more chemical. Okay, and just so that let us try and see if we can identify the contradictions and see through the structured methodology, if we can resolve those contradictions. Okay. The sixth is, or the fifth, as I told you, I mean, I want you to pick up the attributes of inventors or Nobel laureates. What did you find? What are their good attributes? And one of them, for example, is that they are superb communicators also. The communication skills are marvelous, apart from everything else that they do. And maybe it is that convincing power that helped them to get the Nobel Prize in some cases. So all the attributes, their ability to think, their ability to network and interact with others. Okay, all of these are very, very important things that we will try and learn. Sixth is, let me tell you, one is, of course, external circumstances and drivers of innovation. But the internal one is your inquisitiveness. Do you have an inquisitive mind? Are you of the type that you can question? Okay, are you always asking questions? And the first thing in really coming up with a solution is that you must question and identify, okay, a problem. So this is again very important, and I hope that the course will help to imbibe to some extent, curiosity within you. Okay? The seventh is, and this especially applies for large projects, where finally what you see is a perfect, a large, wonderful technology like the Haber-Bosch process. Okay, but it is not that everybody is working on the same set of problems. You may have to fragment it into many different parts, okay? And you'll assign different people to work on those different parts of the problem. Okay? And later on, you may synthesize all of those solutions and finally reach, the ultimate objective. Okay? And nowhere do you see a better illustration of that than, for example, the Bosch process, and what Bosch did and what BASF did, in finally making a success of the nitrogen fixation process. So we will go through not so much the Haber's work, but Bosch's work. Okay, and also because that is much more of engineering related. Okay? So we will try and cover that. Okay? Now, so what you'll do is there will be at least 2 presentations that each one of you will make. Okay? One will be, as I told you, that when I take you through TRIZ broadly, okay, and in TRIZ, as I told you, there are many principles and features, 30-40 principles and features. Okay, so I want you to each one to cover a feature and a principle, okay, and see what would be some of the best examples, which illustrate, okay, the utility of TRIZ for trying to work out a solution, okay, in those cases, okay, or at least how it keeps gets you going, how it gets you to start thinking. Okay? Now the second, which I want you to do is, and especially since this is a final year course, and you have now covered so many courses in ICT. Okay? I'm sure that in the course of these various courses that you have gone through, okay, you may have been left with some thought in your mind that isn't there a better way of doing this? It could be a way in which you solve a problem, or it could be a product or a process, and something that came to your mind, that something which sparked some idea in your mind. And I just want each one of you to go through it. You see, it's important because if you don't, then all the knowledge that you have learned is all things of the past. You will not be able to connect the past with the present and future. So that's what you need to do. I want you to think afresh. Neither am I talking about something which is very, very huge in its scope. It could be a small little thing, but which you feel could add value. Okay? And so, I certainly, towards the end of this course, I want each one of you to make a presentation on opportunities that you may have spotted for thinking differently or improving on products and processes, or if you cannot see it from the course, from any other thing. If you see a room for innovation that came to your mind, just say it, okay? And the only thing that I don't want you to do is I don't want you to plagiarize or copy someone's ideas. That is not permitted. Your idea can be a very small idea, but it must be your idea. Okay? And it can be extremely small, the idea. Okay? But please keep that in mind. Okay? Now, let me also ask you. Sorry, I made a list of things myself yesterday, but let me ask you. What would be some really worthy challenges, that you may want to work on, which you are aware of, something, okay, which you say these are really great challenges, like the nitrogen fixation was a great challenge, but it's a thing of the past, which was identified in the latter part of the 19th century. But I'm talking about today. What do you see as some of the challenges? Anyone can answer, and we will take about 5 minutes in answering these.
Sir, one can be like we are still researching about alternative fuels like from biosources and that.
Wonderful.
So to make it feasible is also another thing.
So I think let us be a little more general. Initially best is just be a bit general, and then you can go into specifics. Okay. So I think what you're talking about is alternative energy.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Huh? Yeah. So let's put it. You see, because let us not get too fixated on a solution at this stage. Let's just identify that there is a need for alternative energy. Fossil fuels are going to run out. Okay, and with climate change and all this emphasis on net zero, okay, it's going to be extremely important that we find an alternative source of energy or sources of energy. Okay. And as you said, which are cost effective. Okay, they have got to be. They cannot be so costly to harness. That it will shoot up. The cost of energy for the world. Okay. So obviously the innovations, those ideas may have been already identified, but how exactly one is going to be able to make it practical? And I think that's the other point that you were trying to make, which is very. And so I'll put it over here: alternative energy and how to make these abundant and practical. Does that cover your thing more or less?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else?
Sir, recovering constituents of materials.
Very good. Recovering constituents of materials means, say what you mean by that.
The polymers currently focuses on degradation, right?
Yeah.
So suppose we are using terephthalic acid and another monomer, then
Yeah.
it would be great if we get both of them back.
Yeah. So what you're saying is recycle recycle raw materials after end of life. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, sir.
Have I got it correct?
Yes. Like
Okay,
the
perfect.
core constituents instead of reusing that same material.
Recycle raw materials, and I'll put core constituents.
Yes.
Core constituents such as monomers. That's what you mean, right?
Yes.
Next.
Sir, technologies to capture carbon from the atmosphere is a bigger challenge nowadays. Sir, there is a low-lying fruit in this case that we can plant more trees, but that is that is not practiced for much.
You know what? This is the only sensible solution. What you said just now. Okay? And believe me, okay, that after going through so much of high tech, people are coming around to it. It's just that, there has been so much of urbanization and desertification that to find the land area to plant so many trees is not easy. Okay? Technologies to capture carbon, and you see planting trees as the best low-hanging fruit. Correct? That's what you mean, isn't it?
Yes, sir. So basically, you have to find ways to plant more trees, like vertical farming and stuff like that.
Well, let me also tell you, okay, that the area which has not been focused on are the oceans. Why do we always think farming has got to be land-based? Right?
Yes, sir. That's a nice idea.
Okay.
Yes.
And I will show you, I will show you, in fact, today, okay, it's something that, we started with Pepsi maybe around 1999, 2000, okay, and, but you never know, don't be surprised if you're, and today, this has become one of the much talked about things, like fuel from the ocean, okay, and I'm talking about from biomass. Okay, and maybe one day you will be able to grow potato and onion, in the ocean, because look at the ocean area, and so if we can do something really visionary, okay, over there, that will be really good. So I'll also say that why not the ocean?
So, but don't you think wherever man intrudes, it tends to spoil it? Like the ocean is one of the things that we haven't explored yet properly, and it's still unhindered. Like nature is unhindered over there.
Well, if you look at, that's a good point. So obviously, why not oceans? But you should not make the problem worse. That's what you're trying to say, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Because of human intervention. Okay? Because exactly what has happened in the ports now. You see the number of ports that have been set up. And the whole coastal area has become a complete mess. Okay. I mean, there are of course good things, which happens with so many ports, but there is a problem also. So very good point. Anything else?
So we can say biotechnology, like with the rise of new diseases, we could use that.
Okay. So should we put, and that would be, no, it could even be for production, right? By bioprocesses. Okay?
Yes.
That's what you mean, isn't it? Huh?
Yes, sir, yes.
Increasing focus on bioprocesses as opposed to chemical processes. I think that's what you're trying to say. Okay, good. Anything else?
Sir,
Sir, advanced separation processes, because the current processes are, while efficient, they're very energy intensive. So we can.
Very good. Once again, let me just reduce the font size. Yeah. Advanced separation processes. Processes that are less energy intensive. What do you mean?
Yes, sir.
sir, also I would say the main challenge is to conserve what we already have.
Oh, wow. Main challenge is to conserve what we already have. And that is what people refer to as sustainability.
Yes.
Okay? What else? Also, I would say that, try to look at it also from your perspective as chemical technologists and chemical engineers. Where can you, where do you think that you can make a great contribution to these worthy challenges? Anything else?
Sir, providing food for the growing population with limited land area.
Providing more food for growing population from limited area and other agri resources. Okay, like for example, you need water, right? There's a
Yes, water or
fertilizer,
other
pesticides.
fertilizers.
No? Okay, from not only from limited area and other from limited area and also let's put and also doing it in
sustainable way.
in sustainable and eco-friendly manner, right?
Yes.
See, because for example, when I am applying pesticide, okay, I mean, once it is applied in the field, there's no way you can do anything about that. You have applied it. If it percolates into the ground and it contaminates your groundwater, can you control it? You can't, right?
No, sir.
Okay, it's gone. It's a non-point source pollution. Okay. So what you'll have to, therefore, this is the only solution is to have very safe pesticides, or very safe fertilizers which will do no harm. Otherwise, it's bound to happen that you will. In fact, this is the you can also view it as a contradiction. Is one will improve and the other will worsen if you are not careful. Correct?
Yes, sir. And so another thing is alternative energy storage systems.
Storage systems.
Yes.
Yes, because if you are actually, when we are talking about and how to make these abundant and practical and also store, okay,
Yes.
For use when for use over 24/7, right?
Yes, because the renewable sources cannot produce 24/7. Solar
Correct.
energy is available for limited
Yes, yes,
time.
yes. So, and I think that that's what you mean, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll put it there, okay? And instead of putting it as a separate point, so that all energy related things, let it all come together.
So we can also look for alternative products which are actually harming the nature, like plastics or polymers.
Yeah. Substitutes for useful but
And they should be also
harmful
cheap, I think. So should be cheap.
substitutes for or cheap substitutes. That's what
Yes,
you mean?
cheap substitutes.
You mean inexpensive substitutes?
Yeah.
Or let's put affordable substitutes.
Yes.
Okay? Affordable substitutes for useful but harmful products like non-biodegradable polymers, plastics. That's what you mean, isn't it? Huh?
Yes, yes.
And of course, you can link it up, okay, also with what was mentioned here, recycle raw materials after end of cycle, So, it's interesting because they are, in a way, they do have a relationship, right?
Yes, sir.
These two. So let us put them together, so that we are not putting it right at the, opposite ends. Anything else?
We can repurpose existing products.
You can?
Repurpose existing products.
Wonderful. Let me tell you, refurbish existing products means refurbish. You mean things which have gone damaged or something?
No, so what I meant was if we have an existing compound, we can find an alternative usage for it.
Alternative. No, there are 2 points. We will cover both. Okay. See, in fact, what has been the trend worldwide? Like your mobile has gone bad. Okay, and that guy tells you that you can't fix it. Either it's lying in your home. Most of the time, the old mobiles are just lying in our house. And for all you know, there's only a small repair that needs to be done, and the companies are not doing it because they want to sell a new product. You understood what I'm trying to say, huh?
So that is refurbishing, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But I think what she's trying to say is like the same mobile, if it is not working in a proper way, we can use it as a backup phone or a CCTV
That's also
camera.
no. That's
That
a
is
brilliant idea. So we'll do refurbish, and what you're trying to say, alternative use for an existing or damaged product, right?
Yes.
Product. Okay, and let's also put fix the product and reuse. Okay, like for example, what you are talking about, if say, suppose I've got a lithium-ion battery, okay, and the battery has got spoiled. It happens all the time, right? And people are trying to recover the lithium and the manganese and cobalt, okay, from the battery. That's one alternative use. Another is I can do something very, very smart, okay, and rejuvenate the battery. Okay, which means that I have to do a much more detailed diagnosis of what is wrong with the battery. Why did it go off? Can that not be fixed? You understood the distinction?
Yes, sir, but that would require a lot of resources, I suppose.
Of course it would. But you're working on a great problem. right?
Yes.
So if you should put great resources for big problems. Okay. So now you asked about refurbish. Tell me, have we got this right or not right? What is written? Is your point taken care of or not?
Yes, sir.
It's okay now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
So we have to rethink packaging. Like for example, the cosmetic industry itself produces so much plastic waste containers that go into the dump.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rethink packaging. All packaging should be biodegradable. And also, we should rethink whether you need so much packaging. Maybe we need to go back to our old ways. When you went and in the grocery shop and the guy gave you 1 kg of chawal in your own bag. Maybe we have to go back. Go back also to bulk packaging. Maybe there should be dispensing machines, there, and you go and press a button, you put your bottle, and the milk will pour into your bottle. Right? You can do that, isn't it?
Yes.
That would be nice. Rethinking packaging means not just making it biodegradable, okay, but also go back to concepts such as dispensing machines, bulk packaging, etc. Now you just see, look at the proliferation of these mineral water bottles. How absurd! How can that be a sustainable technology? And were we doing this before? No. Who had these? In a station, we used to go to the railway station. You went to the place where water was available and you filled your water bottle. You might say, yeah, this is more convenient. At what cost? Okay. Anything else?
Sir, we need to think about alternative source to make paper because we can't manufacture paper only from plants.
Alternative source to make paper. Now, we can also ask ourselves the question, do you need so much paper?
Yes, we can replace wherever it is possible.
I'm saying both are important. There's such a proliferation of paper. You don't need it. The newspapers that we get, the junk that is there. Our papers were not like this. Okay, so we need to look at it, and once you have made paper and print, for example, and all that color and the dye and everything, can you imagine the pollution? Now, what I'll do is, I mean, this is nothing so important, and I was just trying to scribble down something yesterday. Most of these things you have covered, but I just thought that a few things which you need to also look at. Don't only look at manufacturing. I said worthy challenges, and with your capability, to me, if you look at the pandemic and online lectures like we're having today, okay, there is such a need for new learning tools, new exam tools, okay, new virtual experiments, which you almost feel as if you're doing the experiment in the lab. Okay? There's so much, and you can put unbelievable creativity into all of that. Agree or not?
Yes, sir.
So please think about this. And you all are the people capable of doing it.